Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischknecht.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plant Problems. I'm your host, Tony Frischknecht. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted on any new episodes, as well as if you are listening to the podcast, please hit the subscribe button there. And that also lets us know that it's something that interests you, the show does, and you will be alerted every time a new show or episode pops out. So thanks so much for joining me today. You know, a cannabis business is always exciting and fun, and getting into some of the challenging parts of the business outside of regulations can always be a bit tedious per se. And, you know, I was thinking about some different scenarios where really I was having issues as a business owner as well. You know, one of the biggest things that we have as owners that we have full control over is really how we do our hiring. And I started thinking, well, what are some of the issues that you guys are having out there with your hiring, right? How, you know, whether you're starting right now and you're creating your business where you might be the only one in your business, right? So how do we decide to bring these people on? If you've got business partners, it can tend to make things a little bit easier and challenging at the same time, but you can utilize some of the power of your business partners to create some of these different ways to find the right people. Because I've been hiring and firing people for over 20 years. When I started managing some different restaurants in my early 20s, I started that process. So these are a couple of things that I've learned that had helped me through the years. And, you know, sometimes I make similar mistakes and I got to go back and say, hey, remember, we've done this before, right? And sometimes those aren't as easy to figure out until you do it a few times, unfortunately. The old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Well, that happens sometimes. So it's best to, as I discuss this, to think about, you know, how can I make this simpler for me? And how can I make it easy for the next person? Because you as a business owner, this is not always going to be your job. This is one of your jobs right now, and you're having to do the hiring and the firing. And if this is your first company, you're about to learn a lot. But if you've done this before, one of the biggest hurdles is usually getting over, how do I separate myself from a bad employee? How do I make these things, you know, less painful for me and the other individual that I'm letting go? So today, I thought some of the most important things that I wanted to discuss with you, and the first one being, and this is coming more of a regulatory standpoint, what's the licensing process in your state? Every state has some type of licensing process for an employee. Whether it's been created right now, it's definitely on the book. So one thing you need to do is a little bit of homework and find out, well, what is required by my state for an employee to work at my business? If you're going into all this and you don't know that, that's just going to be a big mistake. So big red flag. So what are your state regulations, right? Are they requiring background checks? Just state, are they doing deeper background checks than just a simple $10 background check? There's all kinds of ways this can go. I like to do background checks on anybody I work with, just to understand what's happening. Now, when I'm hiring anybody, You want to make sure that they don't have any felonies or pending issues in their background that might throw up a red flag on your licensing. You got, remembering that there's so much at stake when you bring these people into your circle. If they're criminals you're bringing in a bad element, may or may not affect your business internally right away, but it could affect it down the road. So that's why you want to know what the state's requirements are, and you also want to know what the city requirements. Sometimes they're different, sometimes they're the same. It goes along with taxes, right? You have different tax issues, so you want to make sure you understand that. And then I recommend, once you know all these, creating a simple process, like what do we do when an employee when somebody wants to apply for one of our positions. Well, first of all, we got this A, we've got B, we've got C, and we've got D. That's going to eliminate a lot of people right away, especially if they don't have the licensing that's required. Sorry, man, you might be a great employee, but we can't help you out. So you don't want to waste your time on that. Okay, what are the positions you need? I know this seems like it should pop at you right away, but sometimes it doesn't. I mean, if you're not dealing with, your main things like sales, accountant, marketing, some of that stuff. So really know what you need in place, write it down, and create a job description. Funny thing is you might need to be able to create the job description before you know the actual position you need, right? So this position in place might dictate what the job title is. Now, it doesn't have to be extremely detailed right away, right? Just write out a couple sentences. Or if you're like me and it's like, all right, I don't have a lot of time, well, search the internet. People like to take all this time to make it exactly how they want it. I'm a big proponent of saving my time, and how much time can I save? I could easily go to an Indeed or, go to LinkedIn and search some of these, these executives or different employees out there and search for a great description that I'm looking for to put these in place. So right now we've got the licensing part discussed. We've got the positions needed, right? Oh, and let me make sure we throw this in there. If you have business partners or executives that you have, make sure you get their input on this after you've gotten some descriptions made up and some positions open. And also, you may need to pull some of your managers in and what they'd like to see in tasks. So this does take a lot of time. What's nice about this, though, is once you have this done and you have this created, you only have to do it once. You might have to tweak it a little bit, but other than that, you only have to do it once. And then you'll just be adding new information. And you're also creating a manual for the person that was going to take your place when they start doing the hiring. These are something that it's kind of painful in the beginning, but once you have this in place, it makes it repetitive and much easier. And the other thing that I just thought of is going back and tweaking this due to maybe bad hires that you've done. These are certain things you can tweak in place. Now, I can almost guarantee you can search this out online. However, you're still going to have to do some work to create one of your own. Okay, now what type of person fits this position? I mean, you could be hiring for, again, like I said before, accounting, sales, IT, HR. What are these people, what's the main point of them, right? What do you need? If you need a writer, you need somebody that's maybe they went to school for journalism, maybe they do a blog right now, salesperson, of course, they need to be outgoing. These are kind of obvious things, but if you sit down and take this work and put it together now, it's going to save you a lot of time in the future. I think one of the most challenging things is taking the time to do this before you make a bad hire. That's really the point of this whole podcast is, how do I save you time as you move forward and grow as a company? So what type of person? Really think about what that takes. You know, are they going to be, let's say for a sales person, if they're an introvert, maybe they might be a good writer, but maybe they're more for like an online type, social media type style. I mean, most salespeople need to be extroverts. They got to be outgoing, reach out to people. And some people are just naturally good at this. So you want to look for those. I like to get recommendations from people, but I still vet them like as if I didn't know them. Maybe there's a good recommendation from somebody. However, it doesn't always mean that they're going to be a great employee, right? And then after you've created these 3 spots, I'm sure you're going to have some other stuff to add in. I just want to give you guys a starting point that I think makes a lot of sense. I was taught this a while ago, and I still use it to this day. It makes it extremely easy to get rid of a bad employee quickly. And it's not always that they're a bad employee. They may not fit your company, and that's not a bad thing. It's life. That's how it goes. But one of the things that I started using during my career is creating a vesting period, a time period. It's like a test. Like, I think this is one of the most important things, because any type of a resume or an online profile or work background, it still doesn't truly show you. People can say anything on paper, but at the end of the day, what their actions are really truly what they're going to be as an employee and as could be a future executive. It depends. But using a trial basis, whether it be 7 days, whether it be 2 weeks, what's great about a trial basis is you're going to know, for one, is this person going to step up, and are they going to follow, what I was sold, right? What I was sold. It's kind of a return policy. Like, sure, we'll try you out, buddy, but you got to show us what you can do as well. And 9 times out of 10, the people step up, but the ones that will fall out, it's so much easier to say, hey, look, this is our hiring process. What we want to do is a 2-week trial. And if they're okay with it, they'll show up. I've had people not show up, which is good, because you know how much time that saved me. Your guys' time is the most valuable thing. And I want you guys to know that. I want you to feel that, like, understand that it's hard to put a price tag on your time, but know that when you're creating a multi-million-dollar business that a lot of you are out there doing, and a lot of you guys have, that finishing off what you're doing with a different project because you got to deal with a bad employee or somebody that doesn't fit the bill, and you're just trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, and that's always a challenge. So I want to do the best you can and avoid that in the beginning. But if you got a 2-week trial and your manager, you're either hiring a manager or just an employee, and you see he's not doing any good, and your manager sees he's not doing any good, it's really easy to say, okay, well, at the end of the 2-week trial, we'll sit down and have a meeting and talk about these things. And by then you've had a couple discussions with your staff, or you've had a couple discussions with the new employee yourself, and you need to come to this meeting and set a date so that you have a deadline and it's not forgotten about or passed over. And you're either going to hire him on full time or he's going to be gone. But having them know that in advance takes a lot of the pressure off you having to go fire somebody. And one of the most wasteful things is you hanging on to somebody that doesn't fit what you need. I can't tell you, that is probably the biggest waste of money. So, guys, please, again, hit the subscribe button. Also, check us out on plantproblem.com and let us know if you have some hiring issues that you'd like to discuss and how you would like to fix them, I'd love to know. Go to plantproblem.com. Just connect with me on there. I'm all over social media as well, so you can connect with me there. But plantproblem.com is going to be one of the best ways to get in touch with me. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. You guys are out there making the future for cannabis, and the people coming behind you, you're just smoothing it out for them. And you're creating the wave to national legalization. So I want to thank you guys for doing that. And if you guys are hopping into the game, welcome. We're glad you're joining, and we look to see you down the road. Thanks a lot. See you guys next time.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblem.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.